is with wager week number 10. In this video, again, I'm going to give out some Thursday night game bets and then my favorite bets for Sunday. Same exact thing as every other time. Got my butt kicked last week. I think out of the bets I put out on here, I went 1-3, I think. I think that's what happened. I know I only won one, and I think it was 1-3. So I think overall that puts me at 13-5 or 12-5 or something like that. I know you guys will know. You know what the deal is there. I don't have to keep track of that, but that's about the range we're in. Let's say 66% range. Again, we started out super hot. 13-5-1, I think, or maybe 13-6-1, something like that, or 12-6-1. I don't know. It's in that 66% range. Again, it doesn't matter to me like that because let me explain why that doesn't matter that much. Because if you tuned in the first time today, then my previous records means nothing. Or if you've been with me for a long time, and I go on a losing streak now for 3 weeks, no matter what I did for you the first 3 weeks, so none of that really matters. I know people care about that as far as winning and losing, but the truth of the matter is every week is its own thing. Every bet is its own thing. So it really doesn't make any difference in the big scheme, but I do understand why people care about that. So let's get into this Thursday game. This has my team involved in it, Denver. That doesn't matter to me. I don't care like that. I'm way past my team mattering in instances like this. The only things about this game that really matter is Denver has a really good defense. The Raiders are really bad. Geno Smith has 11 interceptions on the season. He's going to turn the ball over some in this game. So let me... In the last 6 games, the Raiders have given up at least 25 points. So that first thing that told me was that, let's go over here to game. Denver's 26.5 for the team total. At 103, minus 103, almost even money, that's worth a bet. I have no doubt in my mind Denver will get close to this number and likely go over it. Again, that's still 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns doesn't always happen. But in this case, the good thing about this one is it could be 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. So that helps a lot when it can be like that, believe it or not. Because at the end of halves, a lot of times you'll catch a field goal here and there. They kick field goals so long now. We just had the record-breaking field goal that the field goal is a lot more available, we'll call it. As for the Raiders, there's just nothing to bet on the Raiders unless you're going to bet Brock Bowers. And the thing is his receiving yards are at 66.5. Against Denver's defense, I just can't get behind that. Now, the one thing I did like was maybe him for a touchdown at plus 165. But that's still, you're facing Denver's defense. There's going to be a lot of pass rush. Denver has the most sacks in the league, or they had the most. I'm not 100% sure about that, but they did have the most going into last week. I'm not buying that the Raiders are doing much in this one. You could almost bet the Raiders under, and I feel like you're going to be in that range. They didn't score against Kansas City. They scored 3 one other time this year. I think Carolina held them to 3, or some other team held them to 3. Even against the bad teams, they didn't really score very much. So the Raiders just aren't very good. It boils down to it. Denver seems to be pretty good. Their offense goes through struggles, but if you look back, only time the offense really struggles is against the good defenses, like most offenses do. Like last week, they struggled against Houston, but Houston has a really good defense. So I don't see much in the way here of worrying too much about this. One other thing I did like was the first half bet for Denver. The first half is 13.5. That's only 2 touchdowns. that's very reasonable against this defense. So I'm going to put like a half a bet on this one. I don't like the juice as much. I feel like the other bet at minus 103 is better than minus 110. So I'm going to put a half a bet on this. I do like it. It's just not as good. And if you wanted, I think Bo Nix to throw 2 touchdown passes in this game is reasonable. And we can look at that really quick. It's at minus 130. So if you were going to pair this with like the Denver win or something like that, or maybe pair Bo Nix 2 TDs and Geno Smith interception, let's just see what that gives us. I'm just curious what that would give us. That's a 150 plus 155. That's pretty good. Not as good as you can get some other things that are probably just as likely though. So them are the only 2 bets I'm betting is the Denver team total over 26.5 and the first half for Denver team total over 13.5. In the game, live betting, I'll have some more stuff for this game, but unless you're on my Discord, you won't know. I usually post it on my Discord if I can, if it's not like a drive bet, like where you just bet on the drive or anything. If it's a bet during the game, I think we'll have some opportunities on the Denver side of it to make some adjustments in game here. Maybe if Bo Nix is going crazy, we'll bet his passing yards, or the running back's going crazy, or for whatever reason, if maybe Geno has a good game. I don't know. Maybe the Raiders jump out to an early lead and we're able to get on Denver real cheap. There's some things that can happen where you have some live betting. But let's move on. That game's probably not going to be that great. It's probably going to be really lopsided. All right, next one, Atlanta Falcons and Indy. This is in Berlin, which is in Germany, if you don't know. Indy versus Atlanta. This is a weird one. Atlanta's kind of coming off a heartbreaker where they made a big comeback against New England and fell short. And the Colts got manhandled by Pittsburgh, and that was my big bet last week. They got manhandled. I actually think they get that right this week and fix that against Atlanta. Atlanta's lost 3 in a row. Atlanta isn't as good as their first couple weeks went, but they're also not as bad as these last couple weeks. Against New England, it seemed like they were kind of figuring it out, so I'm not laying no points here. I'm going to go to Jonathan Taylor here because he had a bad game. He had a bad game last game. And I'm going to go to Jonathan Taylor for his total yardage, rushing, receiving, because that's what he does. And I like it. It's only 114, which isn't very high for him. And it's reasonable juice at 113. So I'm actually going to bet this. Again, it's not one of my favorite bets, so I'm going to put a half a unit-ish on it, or whatever you want to call it. However you want to play that. But that's what I'm putting on it, something smaller. But I do like that bet, the Jonathan Taylor over 114 total yards. I think last week they got away from using him because Pittsburgh's pass rush was so nice. It was just so brutal. If you guys are commenting, sorry I'm not seeing it. I don't have my computer up, so my bad on that. I don't know if I can pull that up. Maybe I can. Oh yeah, I can. Sweet. How the heck? But I can't really see it. Beware of the Raiders. All right, so I can see it. I didn't know I could do that, but I still didn't see it. So something about beware of the Raiders. Anyways, let's move on to my best bets of the week. I don't want to keep everyone's time held up here. But one of the things that I really like about this week is we get some divisional matchups. Jags, Texans, Bills, Dolphins. Just some good divisional ones, right? Arizona, Seattle is a fun one. Rams, 49ers. But out of all these ones, I don't know how Baltimore is laying 4.5. On here it's 4, but when I read it earlier, it's 4.5. I like it at 4 even. 4.5, 4.5. It just doesn't make a lot of sense that Baltimore should be laying points on the road with a team that plays really good defense, that has a reasonably good offense with the receivers. I just don't see it. So I like this one. This is one of my favorite plays of the week. I'm going to take these 4 points. Do I think Minnesota can keep this game within Three, I do. I think Minnesota can win that game. In fact, I actually think Minnesota should be favored in this game. But I know everyone's jumping on the Ravens train with Lamar back, but the Ravens defense still hasn't got any better. It's still as bad as it was. I don't know that the Ravens are 3 points better than Minnesota in Minnesota. So I'm not buying that one. And the other one is a teaser I like. Never mind. Sorry. The other one is Pittsburgh. My bad. The teaser's something different. I like Pittsburgh this week as well. They're getting 3 on the road against the Chargers. The Chargers' offensive line is not good. This is a bad matchup for the Chargers. I actually think we can just take the money line here. But let's grab the 3. I know this is Sunday night, but if the Pittsburgh Steelers pass rush is half as good as it was against the Colts, that game won't be close. Pittsburgh will win that game easily. Do I think the Chargers are 3 points better than Pittsburgh at home? Probably not. Is it a pick 'em at home? Probably, and maybe that's what Vegas is saying there with the 3 point spread. But I'm taking the Steelers in them points. I actually think Steelers win that game if they get any kind of pass rush. And the Chargers, they're not fielding this great offensive line anymore. Them guys are all broken up, beaten up. Even if they do get a guy back, it's still the very vicious pass rush of the Steelers. And I think the Steelers defense is figuring it out a little bit because they weren't just good against Indy, they were dominant. And that's when the Steelers defense becomes dominant, is when they get really dangerous. And Aaron Rodgers knows how to win football games. And you can also rely a little bit on Pittsburgh's offense here, which is good. We haven't been able to do that in a couple of years. So I like that. So let's go over to, there's a bunch of teaser worthy games this week, right? So one of the ones I like on a teaser is I like the Patriots. The Patriots playing against the Buccaneers. Now, I know the Buccaneers are coming off a bye, and the Buccaneers are really good, but the Buccaneers are beat up a little bit, and the Patriots are a really good football team, and you're going to get them. We're gonna adjust it ourselves. We're going to go up to 7, and then we're going to pair them. So it's our self teasers. Remember, we don't use the ones that they offer because you get terrible juice on it. And then we're going to take Seattle. I like Seattle is still super underrated. We're going to take them down to 2.5. And we're going to get minus 115 on this. This is a pretty good play. Could Arizona beat Seattle? In Seattle, probably not. Make sure I know what I'm talking about. I just don't. I just don't see it. They're not going to get home, and Seattle's dominant. Seattle can throw the ball. They can run the ball. Their defense is solid. This is just a really good teaser. You can do the 6 point teaser. It's going to get you somewhere close. We're going to lay 2.5 with Seattle and take 7 with the Patriots. We're going to get it at 115. I like that. All right. I like that. This is a solid play, in my opinion. Not my best bet, but it's right there with them. I think it's as good as the other 2 plays. Let's clear that. And then I have a 10 point teaser for you guys, and I don't normally put these out because I don't always think they're good. But the one thing I like 10 point teasers for is totals. So when you see totals, I like totals where teams aren't going to score a lot for these. So for example, the Jacksonville and Texans game. Let's go to that. It's at 37. We're going to go under, but we're going to put it on a 10 point teaser. And then we're going to go Rams 49ers. All right. We're also going to go under because it's at 49.5. That's 7 touchdowns plus something. The game they played earlier this year was 23-20 in overtime. So we're going to go under that. We're going to take that all the way up to 59.5. And then we're going to go the Lions. And the reason I like the Lions here is they're laying 8 against Marcus Mariota and that awful, awful Commanders D. So we're going to get +2 when we do this, when we take our 10 point teaser here. Let's go to teasers. The Sweetheart 10 pointer. Let's see what kind of juice we get. Oh, 129. Not terrible. Usually it's way worse than that. But so we're going to be able to go under 47 for the Jags game. Jags and Texans. I expect the Texans to hold the Jags down like they've done everyone else. We're going to go under 59 and a half. That's a huge number in pro football. Just teams just don't get there. Not good teams. And then we're going to go Lions +2 versus the absolutely decimated Commanders. So here we go. I like this play. This is a good play. Not a lot of people like the 10-point teaser. I think they work great on totals because the NFL is really good at predicting totals. So when you move it 10 points, a lot of times you can move it either way and it'll win. A lot of times it doesn't matter which way you do it. So that's one thing that I like that. I'm a fan of that. So that's what I got for this week, guys. I do like some other things. Like, for example, I like the Dolphins +8.5. I think the Bills are coming off of their mini Super Bowl. And on here, they're getting 9.5. And the Dolphins stayed close last time. It's in Miami. I think the Bills go down there just to win the game. Again, they get it done. It wouldn't surprise me if the Bills only win by 3 or, if it's close late. And I like Carolina laying the 5.5 against New Orleans. But eventually New Orleans has got to get through on one of these, so I'm afraid to bet it. But overall, the player props are what they are. There's no reason for me to really talk about them right now because they won't be up except for just a few games. So I just prefer to wait until Sunday on them. I actually think you get the best numbers on the player props on Sundays because you get the full picture as far as injury status and how teams are going to play and stuff. So I actually think the player props work best on Sunday. But anyways, that's what I got for this week. Just to recap, my best bets are Minnesota plus the points, Pittsburgh plus the points, those +4 and +3. I got a teaser with the Pats in Seattle. Remember, we adjusted ourselves. And then I got a 10-pointer with Jacksonville, Texas under, Rams 49ers under, and the Lions. So, good luck, guys. Hope you guys have great weeks. Hope you guys kill it like always, and get Jacob off the loser track here. These are some winners. We're taking some points this week. We've been laying points lately because New England has been so good to us. And the Eagles game is on Monday, so we'll be looking at their over because they like to go over in their games. We'll be looking at that. We've been crushing that. The Miami thing, we kind of got off of it. This would be a good week to look at the Miami over at 50 even. The Bills are going to put some points on them, so the over 50 is very attractive. And likely y'all have a bet on that closer to game time. Maybe it'll get down to 49, which is a lot better number than 50. But anyways, guys, thank you for your time. This is Jacob from Wager Me This. If you have any questions, just get on my Discord. It's a lot easier. Send me an email at wagermethis@gmail.com. You can join my Discord. It's much easier to interact with me on there than on here. I watch it all the time, basically, so you get direct, to the second interacting with me if you want my opinions on these games and on sports in general. We talk about sports basically all the time. Did a lot of World Series stuff. That was probably the best World Series I've ever seen. Again, I haven't seen them all or anything. It was amazing. But anyways, guys, thank you for your time. This is Jake from Wager Me This.